So I hope you're doing well. I wanted to give you a quick tour of the studio here. You know, I've kind of been missing in action for a while. I've been meaning to put up more videos, and I just thought this would be a great way to get rolling again. I'll start by talking about this controller. This is a Yamaha CP300. I have two of them. One of them's just stashed away right now. And I used to have three, but I sold one to alleviate the cost of buying this gear that I bought, which I bought from a Broadway show I worked on, a show called Dames at Sea. So I have the controller. I'm a pianist, so I really enjoy having a decent controller that feels like a weighted action and everything. And this is by no means perfect. We have two pianos here, one of which is right there. It's a Petrov. And they make Petrovs in the Czech Republic. So it's like the Steinway of the Czech Republic. It's a great piano. It's 6 foot or 5'5" or something like that. I bought these CP300s and this rack and a pair of speakers from Dames at Sea. And this rack right here is used to run the show with a keyboard player. On Broadway, a lot of times keyboard players will play a bunch of different instruments, anything that sounds good in samples, or they'll supplement strings. For example, we worked on Fiddler on the Roof. A lot of the strings were kind of in the background, were keyboards. There's two Mac Minis in a Sonnet rack here, and then a Radial SW8, and then two RME interfaces. The two computers are running Apple's MainStage, which is like Logic, except it doesn't have the recording capabilities of Logic. So it has virtual instruments, it has guitar pedals, and it's really meant to concertize. And you can make systems of patches, which they call concerts. And so it's a great way to set up your show or concert so that you can play one patch after the other sequentially. And you change patches with a patch pedal, and you have a volume pedal for expression. The player starts both systems at patch 1, and when you hit the patch pedal, they both advance, so they're always in the same place. And if there's ever a failure, if one of the computers dies, then you hit a switch on the SW8, you hit a toggle that toggles the monitor from one computer to the other, and then you can keep going without a hiccup, because they're very serious on Broadway about not having the show stop because there's an equipment failure. This is basically, it's built around an Argosy, which I've had for many years. I've had 5 different systems in here. The latest one is Slate Raven, which is a touch screen so that I can just come in here and, you know, make any changes I want. And Raven has its own software which overlies your DAW. It has different scenes, and these buttons are part of its Batch Commander software, where you can program in shortcuts. You can control the transport or quantize or undo or whatever you want to. Speaking of that, the newest thing I got, it's a Stream Deck. And Stream Deck is by a company named Elgato. And they were originally invented to work with streamers. It has good integrations with things like OBS Studio, but you can also use it just in your computer setup. And I'm in love with this thing. I'm gonna make a new video about it soon, where I'm gonna teach you all how to set it up and also how to use it with Keyboard Maestro, which provides various automations, which I'll talk about more then. This thing's amazing. I use Digital Performer as a DAW, and with Digital Performer, you know, it has so many keyboard commands, and some of those keyboard commands are pretty oblique. It's hard to remember them, but you can just put them on a button, and then you just press the button, and it does the keyboard command you want to. And it also allows you to use both hands independently, because I'm using my right hand on the keyboard and the trackpad here, and my left hand on the Stream Deck, and it really has upped my workflow quite a bit. This system, the Mac Studio system, is 3 monitors. There's the Raven here, a 4K display here, and then 1080p TV here. Most often I will either put something big like that jumbo counter up there, or I'll put a movie on it, or something that people in the Red Room need to see, because this is repeated in the Red Room on a monitor in there. These 3 monitors are the computer monitors for that M1. These 2 are the computer monitors for this rack. And in addition to being able to use MainStage in a show, I also have Neon Ensemble Pro, which hosts samples. So my sample rigs are spread out between the Mac Studio and between the 2 Mac Minis. Now, the other thing that I got from the shows were these white coned Yamaha monitors. And I was thinking when I got them, they'd be like NS10Ms, but they really aren't. You know, they're mid-rangey, obviously. They sound good now, but I had to use some correction software to get them to sound good. Then I have Auratones, which I've had since the 80s, but recently the Auratone company started back up. And so I sent this to them, and I had them replace the cones. The speakers themselves were deteriorated. You couldn't use them at all. Then I have Atom monitors with the subwoofer, so that's my big monitor system. And then just these bookshelf speakers to, you know, for a 4th opinion. And then between that and listening on my laptop and earbuds in the car, it's way more than I need to figure out whether my mix is going well or not. Over in this side of the Argosy console, I have a headphone amplifier for the headphone feeds that go to the Red Room, and then an old DM5, which I'm not really using, and then the patch bays, which connect all the various gear that still has analog connections to them. On this side, I have the XLR patch bays, and those are basically for the mics that are running to and from the Red Room. And also, I have a Millennium Media preamp, which is a great preamp. I got it because it's like a straight wire almost, so it doesn't impart a whole lot of character, but a lot of what I do is record classical musicians or Broadway musicians, and so that's a great thing for that. My interface system is Universal Audio's interface system, and I've been using the plugins since early 2000s. So when they came out with interfaces, I basically jumped on the chance and got an interface. So I have a Twin. The Twin is good because it basically works as a control room section to a console, so you can do talkback, and it has the big knob here that you can turn, and dimming features, and you can switch between speakers and everything. And then I have 2 8-channel interfaces. One is the newer X8, and the other one is a Silverface. And then I have a satellite. So I have 20 cores of that. And then over there is the museum section. So there's old computers, printer we do use, plus a tower that does CD replication. So, you know, it's just kind of there. And I keep resources there. Like a lot of the music I work on is notated stuff, so I keep the notated stuff. I'll make a folder with the notated stuff and I'll throw it in there. Over here is a rack you can't see, but I'll give you some B-roll on that. And it has a drawer with various adapters and stuff in it. And then there's a power conditioner. I have an old cassette machine just in case I need to transfer some cassettes. And I have the power amplifier, which basically powers speakers in the Red Room. And so there are times we just use the speakers for the talkback, and then we also play stuff for them through the speakers. Of course, they come in here and sit down when they want to get to full effect. Up there, I have a cloud, some diffusers. These diffusers are homemade, and the biggest one is 24 inches, so that thing's really heavy. And then there's some bass traps up there, just kind of get stuff under control. This room imparts a kind of a sonic signature, which I had to get room correction software to help. The reflections are fine. We have bookcases and this rug here and the bass traps, and there's not really a parallel wall in here except for this and this. Those come to a right angle. And of course the ceiling and the wall comes to a right angle, and then the floor and the wall. But other than that, nothing's at a right angle. So you don't really get that ping pong effect so much. In the sweet spot, it's great. The real problem was that there was a big dip, like at about 60 hertz, and then a big trough at maybe 110 or something like that. So looked like this, and then it kind of got back to normal. So I have some software called SonarWorks Reference ID. So you get a microphone from SonarWorks, and that microphone has been calibrated at the factory, and it has a serial number. So you go to their website, you upload the serial number, and then your software system knows what mic you're using and what the frequency response is for that exact microphone. Then you walk around the room taking measurements. And I guess why it's called SonarWorks is because it sounds like a sonar, like a submarine or something. And it gives you a sweep of frequency and some pink noise, and it beeps and it does all this stuff. And you move to various places in the room and it takes measurements. And then it applies a correction curve to take care of the problems that it has found. So that was extremely helpful. I did it on all 4 sets of speakers. And that's when these Yamahas started sounding good, because they didn't sound so good. And I knew that the Adams had a whole lot of bass, like extra bass. And that sort of fixed this up. So I'm very happy about this room. I'm very happy about working here. And I'm happy when I work here with other people. This is strictly a project environment, and it's always me who's doing the engineering. It's got a cozy vibe. There's a lot of cool places to sit and hang out. We have this area with the couches right here. There's another area up on this raised platform. Anyway, I just wanted to give you this quick little tour and kind of get back in the game here. In the next couple of days, I'm going to go into the Red Room and into the booth, and we will talk a little bit about those areas as well. I'll show you the Steinway that's back there. If you had an insane thought and you wanted to subscribe, or hit the like button, or do both, whatever you want to do. Anyway, thanks for spending this time with me, and I look forward to seeing you soon.